Today we're going to be talking about Europa Universalis IV, and we're going to be going over the Sunset Invasion achievement, the Steam achievement. Now, we've done a previous episode about this, and that one was mostly an introduction episode. It was talking about the actions and the steps you would take to kind of get yourself into a position to be able to invade the European countries in order to get the achievement for this, or the specific provinces for this achievement. If you aren't familiar with it, you can watch the video before, the link will be in the description. But other than that, this video is mostly going to be about the actual specific steps I took to actually complete the achievement. And the reason why I'm going specific instead of general like I did last time is that as the game progresses, you can no longer stay so general because powerhouses change, European powers change. In my game, France was very strong, but it might be in your game France was not very strong. I was going up against specific allies and ally groups in my playthrough that you might not go through. So this one is mostly going to be an after action report of the steps I took to actually go into Europe and get this achievement there. So right around the 1600s, I got into a war with Norway, and that war was very easy. Norway didn't really have a whole lot of army or anything like that, so it was a very quick little war, and it managed to give me the Shetland Islands just north of Great Britain. So that was the staging point of my first initial invasion. So I got myself a fleet of 25 heavy ships, 27 transports, and we moved over 65,000 men to the Shetland Islands in preparation for the attack. Finally, in 1693 is when I decided to kick the war off. I declared war on Portugal, whose allies was Great Britain, Spain, and Juanpor. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. And with me, it was myself, the Aztecs. My allies was France and Vijayanagar, which was a Indian nation that I can barely pronounce, so I'm just going to call it Vagina Land. So we landed in Scotland with those 65,000 men, and France did the dirty work out in Spain, and Vagina Land took on Juanpor, or however we pronounce that one. So the nice thing is, between my fleet and the French fleet, we managed to be able to destroy the British fleet actually quite easily. So that put the whole British Navy out of commission. And the rest of the invasion of the British Isles went pretty smooth. There was a couple of battles against the 40-stack army, the British army, but that was won decisively due to Aztecs having a much larger morale. When we did finish the one battle, the 40 stack then retreated over to Ireland, and we nicely put our fleet in between Ireland and the rest of Great Britain, and so they just wouldn't even bother us, and then we just took the rest of the Great British Isles very decisively, very quickly, and then when we were done that, we moved the army into Ireland and took the fleet, or the armies out in Ireland, took out Ireland, and by that time, France pretty much beat the piss out of Spain and Portugal, so everything was good there. We brought a couple troops down into Spain to help with that. We also landed a few troops onto Sardinia, which was I think a key position that we needed to take. And finally, in November 1699, we pieced out Great Britain, and that gave us London, war reps, some colonial land over in North America, and they annulled their treaty with Spain and Portugal. And in June 1700, our final end to the war gave us Lisbon, Madrid, the connecting provinces between the two, and the southern provinces, Sardinia, which is right against Rome. You know, it gives us the ability to do the casus belli on them if we wanted to. Turns out we never needed to, because then, you know, we got diplomatic Tech 25 and we could declare war on everyone with I think it's, no, 25 or 23, I can't remember, but then we could declare war on anyone regardless of where they were. As soon as that war was done, though, France dropped their ally with us, with the Aztecs, because they didn't get any promise in the peace deal. And that's where I sat back and went, good, right? Because I eventually have to go to war with France anyways. But then, shortly thereafter, about 14 years after, Spain declared war on me. At that time, my allies were Austria, Savoy, Hungary, and the Ottomans. And we were against Spain, Portugal, France, and some European HRE countries. So my troops were facing pressure in North America, so I disbanded my European forces and rebuilt my armies on the home front to fight off the colonials. That allowed the Hungarian and Austrian forces and the Ottoman forces to kind of fend off the French and the Spanish and the Portuguese armies by themselves. Now, France was kind of the powerhouse military at that time. They could crush most armies just by itself, you know, Spain bringing 1,000 or 100,000 troops to the fight didn't really help either. But nonetheless, my European allies did a great job, and everything went really well. So the combined attacks on the North American colonies, as well as the European troops, gave a 44% war score by 1720. So I could piece out a huge North American land grab that gave me like all of Eastern Canada and a good portion of Spanish Louisiana, and it was all given to me. So that was really nice, although getting closer to the end of the game, you know, this was 1720, we only have 100 years to finish the achievement, and we have a lot to do yet. So it felt kind of like a waste of time, a little bit. So in 1731, even though we were already in a defensive war helping out the Ottomans fight Spain, our Aztec armies declared war on Sweden, who was allied with Friesland, and we pulled Austria into the war as well. So we landed 60,000 troops from London onto Holland and took Friesland out really quickly. It was they didn't have many armies, and we managed to secure it out very fast. So in 1733, you know, only 2 years from the beginning of the war, we secure Amsterdam and end the war. So that was very quick in a blitz campaign. That gave us one of our achievements. So the time is moving quickly at this point, but however, we only need Paris and Rome to finish the achievements now. So that's only 2 out of the 6. And we're doing quite well. So in 1740, we saw a chance when France went to war with Austria. And Austria was allied with Milan and Hungary at the time. So it was France versus Austria, Milan, and Hungary. What we did was, with the Aztecs, we declared war on Congo, and Congo's only ally was France. And with that, we brought Savoy into the war. Now, France could field similar numbers to us, and we moved 130,000 troops into Amsterdam to invade France. However, everything went tits up, and it went really terribly. France managed to catch 2 of our armies, split up from each other, and we had some troops on the Shetland Islands, and we had some troops a little bit behind, and they managed to kind of crush our troops because of their high morale and discipline, and it cut us up pretty bad. So we disbanded whatever we had still in Europe at that point and rushed everything back into North America. We rebuilt our army because we lost almost 100,000 troops there in France in a very short amount of time. And then later packed those troops onto transports and invaded Congo in Africa. I tried at this point a little bit of a tactic, and this was probably my most, I guess my most cheesiest move per se in this playthrough. This was me trying to kind of take advantage of game mechanics. Now, I want to say though, it didn't really work as well as I planned. So, because of that, don't hold it against me. My plan was to lure the 100,000 French troops into North America, pull them deep into North America while I build up my manpower, leave my armies away. The AI is kind of dumb when it comes to moving its armies around, so I figured what it would do is it would kind of make a big hell stack of about 100,000 troops and just go from one province to another, and it would kill its manpower through attrition. And this was my plan. I would just let it kill its manpower, let its manpower go down, and have its army deep into North America. And as soon as it does, I'm letting my manpower grow, I'm letting my troops grow, and then I would, peace out and then declare war pretty much right afterwards. I thought this might work, however, this was kind of a complete failure. So we pieced out France in 1949, and right afterwards we packed up our troops, dumped them onto transports, brought them back to Europe, and in 1951, it was like 12 months, it was like 14 or 16 months after the peace, we declared war on Congo again, even though we had a truce and took the stability hit, declared war on Congo again and tried to essentially bum rush France to try and take it, while all its troops are still kind of in this goofy place in North America. At that time, France was also at war with another group as well, so I thought, this was a perfect opportunity, I'll give it a try. Unfortunately, it didn't work out at all. We hit the first fortress, sat on the fortress too long, and by the time, everything was said and done, France managed to get his forces back into North America, or into Europe, counterattacked with the full might of their forces, and again kind of cut us to pieces. So our second attempt at doing this wasn't really good. So finally we white peaced again with France in 1756. That's when we were kind of, I keep on saying we, but I was kind of reassessing the whole situation and deciding what to do next. That's when I saw that the Papal States, their only ally at this point was Albania. No, sorry, that's not right. Albania, its only ally was the Papal States. And, giving the imperialistic Causi Belli thing, I could declare war on Albania right away. Papal States would join. Let's do that. So that's what I did. It was a very fortunate circumstance. Declare war on Albania. Albania was landlocked and only had one province. We jumped on the Papal States. They only had 3 provinces, so they were very weak. It was a very quick campaign. We sieged Rome, we sieged one other place, and then we went after Albania. Very easy win, and it gave us Rome in 1761. At that point as well, France was at war with Ottomans. I think it was France and Commonwealth, so it was kind of a real bit of a gangbang against the Ottomans, and they tore them to shreds, taking them to town, and in the process they released Greece as its own independent nation. I figured, hey, this might be a really easy land grab. So I declared war on Greece right afterwards. There was no allies with Greece or anything like that. There was no truce or anything like that. So I could just easily declare war on Greece, land all my troops, take Greece. Boom! I just got a really nice land grab. So I did that, and it gave me a nice beachhead of about 15 provinces there to be able to put my troops on without having to worry about too many troops in one area and all this other jazz. You know, I didn't have to worry about attrition, having too many troops in the, you know, over the supply limit and all that stuff. So taking Greece was very, very quick. I managed to secure that quickly, giving me kind of a European, it was sort of a European beachhead to be able to put a large mass of troops. Finally, this brought me closer to the end of the game. We're looking at, you know, late 1700s, and we only had one achievement or one goal left. You know, Aztecs only had one goal left, and that was to get Paris. So we already had two previously failed attempts. So we had to make sure that everything, all the stars aligned perfectly and everything was done perfectly, and there was no fuck ups like the last attempts. So I increased my my force limit by building a whole pile of conscription centers and all those types of buildings over in North America. I trucked all my troops over to Greece, and I think it was 270,000 troops in Greece just sitting there. Then finally the opportunity kind of presented itself. It was like, you know, everything aligned perfectly and we could jump on the offensive. Essentially what happened was France supported a independence for Spanish Brazil. So Spanish Brazil then declared war for independence, and that put France into a war pretty much by itself with Spain, Portugal, Hungary, and the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth was huge at the time, so I was like, bingo blanco, this is great. So I jumped into the war as Austria with Austria as my ally in 1774, and then spearheaded that invasion from Greece, marching my troops up into Austrian land, and I met up with the Austrian troops. They had 60,000 troops there, and then I started that deadly work of taking out France. Shortly thereafter, the Ottomans also got in on the fight as well, so that was really great. So I kept the bulk of my army very close together this time, apart from, you know, very different than the previous two wars I did with France. I kept the bulk of my army very, very close. I made sure that there was, you know, one or two fortresses being sieged at one time, but for the most part, all 200,000 of my troops were very close together. And anytime French troops would come after us, we would just basically, you know, hell jump their armies and overwhelming numbers them to death. Kind of zerg them, I guess. Now, everything was kind of slow progress in France because France was a ring of fortresses, like pretty much all around the borders of France. It was just those fortresses. So the max upgraded fortresses, so you had to take one at a time. It took forever, even with maximum artillery. You know, a huge amount of artillery still took forever. But even though it took forever, things were looking really, really good. But then something really nasty happened. That's when everything kind of went tits up. In early 1779, the Spanish Brazil lost that War of Independence, which made it a Spanish colony again. So that brought Spain into the fight against me instead of against France, right? So now instead of Spain fighting France, now Spain is fighting with France. And it also brought its allies into the group. Now, at this point, this included England and Portugal. So I'm instead of war just France, I'm now at war with France, England, Portugal, and Spain. Luckily enough, though, the Commonwealth didn't help Spain in the fight. I guess they had another war going, but if they helped, the war probably would have been much, much different. So that brought a onslaught of about, I'd say, almost 5 years of constant bloody fighting against Spain. England didn't really land on the mainland, so I didn't have to worry about them too much, but it was a lot of fighting against Spain and whatever French forces that were left. Ottomans pieced out, so I didn't have Ottomans helping me out anymore. However, Austria stayed to the end. So finally, it got to the point where I had no manpower left. All my money was gone. My army went from 240,000 troops down to 60,000 troops, so it was just a fraction of my army size. And I had rebels all over North America due to war exhaustion and all this other jazz. Finally, I got the war score I needed by running my ass down to the war goal, which was the Spanish-Brazilian capital, and managed to get enough to be able to gain peace and get Paris and the province next to it to get my final achievement and get the Sunset Invasion achievement completed in November 27th, 1785. So there we go. That's kind of a rundown on the Sunset Invasion achievement. I think if there's any overall tips I would probably give apart from the ones I did in the first video, I think having strong allies was key in this. Strong European allies was key into this victory. Don't go in it by yourself. Excuse me. Make sure that you have strong allies. Make sure that these allies are kind of, I guess, overwhelming in a sense against, whoever you're fighting. Because if you can do that, you do very well. And don't be afraid to ally with a country that later on you have to defeat, right? At one point I had France as an ally, and later on I had to kill France to take Paris. So don't be afraid to do that. Also, making sure that you have the traits available to give you high morale and high discipline. Those are two things that are kind of a key in almost any achievement you want to get in Europa Universalis. You don't really need a strong navy, but being able to have enough transports and enough heavies to be able to keep your navy alive enough to transport your troops over quickly, so you're not moving 10,000 units at a time. Make sure that you're moving over 60,000 or 100,000 units at a time. Make sure that you have the ability to get that done and move those units from North America into Europe quickly. And finally, at one point in the playthrough, my inflation was something about like 40%, right? That's what happens when you start as the Aztec in Central America. You have this huge gold reserve, and there's lots of gold down there, so your inflation is going to kick up like crazy. And it took a long time to get my inflation down. So as you're building and expanding in North America, and always expand in North America, but as you're doing it, don't be afraid to start building the infrastructure back home to bring that inflation down. Because as you start bringing that inflation down, as you start finding alternative incomes to bring that inflation down, you'll notice that you have huge money reserves because of it, right? And you'll come out with with really large incomes due to the size of your expansion and the amount of land that you can grab. But yeah, I think that's kind of the gist of it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this kind of tutorial, I guess, or the tips and tricks of how to not be bad at this achievement, or kind of the lesson I learned while doing this achievement. And I hope you gained something from this. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you like all my videos or just some of them, or if you just like the sound of my voice, please subscribe. And if you have anything to say, even good or bad, it doesn't matter. You can say hi, or you can say, hey, you're a jackass. That doesn't matter either. But put it in the comments below. Until next time, Keeves out.